Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lex and I would greatly appreciate it if you would consider supporting the channel by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. It really helps get the videos out there and it inspires me to keep creating. Before we begin, I just want to take a moment in this video to extend my prayers, my thoughts, my well wishes, my everything. All of the empathy and emotion that I can to the victims of the LA wildfires. I have definitely been keeping up with this through the news and just continuously tracking what's going on. There's also people, that I know in some capacity that are in LA currently that have experienced different things and that have been around. Maybe it's not their house in particular that was affected, but their neighbors even. It's a really severe situation, and I really do want to keep them in my prayers and acknowledge that I am aware of what's going on. At the end of the day, these videos are for fun. These recaps are for fun. If I could boycott and postpone and not even put this content up, I would, but YouTube is a job for me. But in either event, I just want to extend my prayers, and you guys as well, I hope can keep them in your thoughts, your prayers. In addition to that, I am going to include some links in the description to ways that you can help, ways that you can donate, whether you can donate on the ground physically if you're in the area, or ways that we can donate from when we don't live in LA. This situation is very sad. As you can tell, I'm like very speechless because it's just, I've been keeping up with it and it is heartbreaking. It is devastating. I've seen some super insensitive comments where people like, oh my God, celebrities lost their houses. Who cares? You are a sick individual if you think that a celebrity being rich means that they should lose their home. Like, a lot of these people have young children, their whole families living on these compounds, and none of those people deserve it. None of them. In addition to the fact that it's not only celebrities, there are normal and like regular old people like you and I that are also losing their houses as well. So I just wanted to take a moment to address that. I wanted to take a moment to again really give my prayers. The situation is absolutely awful. Every day I'm hearing different stories of someone else's house who was burnt to the ground, and that is just such a traumatizing and tragic situation. And I really am aware of it, and I am doing what I can to help. I am looking into ways that I can help, and I hope that you guys will as well. So check the description box for those resources. Alright y'all, so today we are going to get into the new season of the Traitors US. This is going to be episodes 1 through 3 because I guess they supersized this premiere and dropped multiple episodes. This season looks good already, y'all. Ooh, it looks good. If you don't watch the Traitors, I already said this last season. I recapped the Traitors. Back then my channel, yeah, whatever. A lot of y'all did not watch them, but there was a specific group of you that did. And we had such a good time because the Traitors was so good. And all season I kept begging y'all to watch this, and I'm probably going to do this again. Please check this show out. It is so good. Oh my goodness, it is such a good and entertaining show. It's just such a break from some of the other reality shows. Oh my God, it's good. Okay. I will also put a picture of the cast here, at least for the first few episodes. There will be a picture of the cast here so you guys can get adjusted since I didn't do a cast reveal or anything like that. So episode 1, everybody is pulling up to the castle. We already have some rivalries. Now our first big rivalry is Danielle Reyes and Brittany from Big Brother.
I'm telling you, I know I messed up. I know I did.
All right.
I hurt you.
You did. I was so hurt.
And I didn't expect that. And that.
If you're not familiar with their rivalry, Danielle was voted out by Brittany. Brittany ultimately pulled the plug to get Danielle sent home in that season. And they're still pretty bitter about it. Obviously, more so Danielle than Brittany. But in either event, it's not looking so hot for them. We also have Tony and Jeremy from Survivor. and Carolyn. Now, Carolyn, says, look, I know Jeremy is a great player, but Tony is very strategic. And Tony definitely has a target on his back because he has won Survivor multiple times at this point. So, Zac Efron's little brother is there, Dylan Efron. Do with that what you will. But as we get to the castle, Brittany and Danielle have a very awkward meeting. Brittany immediately makes a beeline over to Danielle, and she knows she needs to apologize to this woman. She's like, look, I didn't mean to. I know it hurt your feelings, and I know that, it was something that really, really was a bad idea. I know I messed up. I know she's trying to profusely apologize to Danielle, so that target isn't on her back, but ultimately it's not doing anything because what happened to Danielle, well, what Brittany did to Danielle, I should say, cuts deep. So anyways, I'm already thinking, who are the traitors gonna be? Who are the traitors gonna be in this cast? Because I had no idea. Now, Alan introduces himself, the host, and there's like masked men behind him. They're all marching, they're all doing their thing, and they all walk away except for one.
Oh my God.
Now we find out from Alan, this masked man is someone who is dying to be in the game. Dying. Who is it? All that they have to do. One person who is on the cast now. One person just has to come up, shake this masked man's hand, and that's it. The masked man is in the game. But wait, there is a twist. And the twist is that if you go up and shake the masked man's hand, that means you get to choose somebody else who you want to eliminate from the game. So at this point, my mind's racing, thinking, okay, it's probably going to be Brittany, Danielle, one of them too, right? They could just eliminate the other one. Carolyn, however, is the main one that is like, oh my God, wait a minute. I could do this and I could get somebody else out. Now we find out that the player is Boston Rob from Survivor, another icon, somebody who, did very well in his season. He says that he should be able to get into the game because he's quite the gamesman and anybody would be happy to have him as an ally. So Carolyn, again, her mind is racing because she really, really, really wants to get out Tony, but she's worried that she might upset somebody else in the process. I'm going to be honest with you. She should have went for it. I think either Danielle should have went for it or Carolyn should have went for it because at this point there is no allies. There is no real groups formed yet. I think that the only kind of default groups were like, oh, we're the Survivor people, we're the housewives. But at this current point, if they had shook hands to get someone else out, especially somebody that would be a rival to them, I don't think there would have been any problems there. So that was weird to me. So Danielle does want to get Brittany out as expected, but she does not want Rob to come into the castle. Again, very understandable. Rob is a really crazy, he's a great player. So Alan's counting down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. No one takes it. Nobody takes it. I thought Carolyn would do it. I really did, but she did not decide to. So Rob, at this present moment, has to head away. But as expected, Alan lets us know every decision has a consequence. So don't just yet think that things are over. So they all go to explore the mansion at this point. People are kind of talking about who's who, blah, blah, blah. A couple of the girls, Gabby and some of the other girls, they are talking about Sam. Sam, who's there, he is Britney Spears' ex. And one of the girls was like, oh, I thought he was Davide from Love Island. I thought that was super funny. Now, there is a group already kind of starting to realize that Tony is a ruthless player, while meanwhile, Tony is telling Carolyn and the other Survivor players, plus Wells, that he wants to be a faithful. Tony is already starting to kind of build that he wants to be a faithful. He's a faithful. He does not want to be a traitor. He doesn't want to be associated with anything bad. He's already trying to paint a positive picture of himself. But of course, Tony lets us know in the confessional, that's a lie. Okay, he's like, I want to be a traitor. What we talking about? Yeah, I want these people to think that I want to be a faithful, but I definitely want to be a traitor. So there's also a lot of people who are starting to talk to Ivar. Now, Ivar Montabatten, I don't know. He's a royal, and you know, he's related to the royal family. So they're all starting to realize, he might also be a low-key threat because he's well educated, he's PR trained. So if he was a traitor, it's not like they would know. So at this point, it is time to head off to the round table and to select the traitors.
Players, remove your blindfolds.
So to make a long story short, we find out our traitors are Danielle, Carolyn, and Bob, the drag queen. And I thought this was a pretty interesting list. Okay, we see already that it's going to be a bit topsy-turvy in terms of the hierarchy of the traitors, but interesting group so far. I think each of them is a bit different in their play styles, a bit different in their personalities. So I thought it was very interesting to see how those three would mesh. So as soon as this is over, they take off the blindfolds. Why is Carolyn being so twitchy? She drinks her water immediately and she's like fiddling. And I'm like, she always is twitchy. Because I thought that looked sus. It looked obvious. And Rob is or Bob. Not Rob, sorry. Bob the drag queen. He's also rubbing his head a lot. He like, So I was like, oh my gosh. And Wells, he's looking around. Wells and Dylan, I feel like they had the hawk eyes out trying to find anybody who was acting slightly different. So they find out that the traitors have their first murder this night, okay? No games, no time is wasted. In addition to that, Alan reveals a twist that the traitors are no longer going to say who they are in the finale. So you really have to be on your toes once you get to the finale because you're not going to get any hints. So back to the mansion. Tom is on to Chriselle at this point. He feels like she is acting really suspicious, even though that's actually not true. Now, Tom and Chriselle, if you know, they are from Vanderpump Rules. Chriselle is friends with Tom's ex, Ariana. I did not watch Vanderpump. Okay, so this is my research from beforehand, but he is friends with or she is friends, excuse me, with Ariana. So they already have a little bit of friction between them due to what happened because Tom and Ariana are obviously not together. So now Tony is saying to the group that Chriselle was begging him to help her, saying she needed him, she needed his detective skills. So they're starting to try to build up that Chriselle is a potential traitor. Now both Bob and Jeremy, they are talking to one another as well, and they're saying there is no way that Carolyn could be a traitor. You know, I guess she's too twitchy. Tom, once again, is throwing out Chriselle's name because she's friends, you know, with Ariana. Now, Tom is telling Carolyn and Danielle, who are both traitors, that he would have thought it was Carolyn if he wasn't watching her before because she was really twitchy. But, you know, he realized that she's always like that. Supposedly. And once again, I'm like, Carolyn, girl, we need to rein it in. You are already on these people's radar. I get that's how you are, but cool down just a little bit. So we get to the mission. Basically, we find out that they have to collect fuel to set this big ring on fire, and they can also collect gold up to $40,000 before the time is up. Anybody who's inside the shield is going to get a shield when it's lit on fire, but there is a twist whenever you get to the fuel canisters. So if they fail to light the shield, you get nothing. And you also bank nothing.
We need to paddle our rowboat out to the pontoons and collect fuel and $40,000.
Look, they sacrificed 2 more people.
Yeah, that's
Dorinda.
Housewives!
4 housewives, there you go.
The
It's all the faithfuls. Oh, wait.
So already we get into the boat and we realize we are not with a cast of good, like, physical players because they are struggling to row this boat. When I tell you they were sitting there like, putting the paddles left and right, all different directions. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, I'm not a boat, I don't do crew, I don't row boats, but come on now, we need a little synchronization. So Bob, the drag queen, he is like, okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna say heave ho, and it's going to help us with synchronization because clearly we cannot row this boat. So they finally make it to the first raft, and immediately Tony jumps off. And again, I don't know, Tony, you are someone that has a flag on your back, so to be so chill to immediately jump off, to me, it's kind of putting a target on your back, it's putting a target on your back. But they find out when they get to this first raft that in order to take the fuel, they have to sacrifice 2 players, leave them here on the raft, and then they can take the fuel. And those 2 players that are sacrificed are not going to be safe from murder. They are not going to be eligible for that shield. So they start to have a bit of an argument already. They have to make a bit of a decision because even though Tony jumped off to get the fuel, he didn't necessarily jump off to sacrifice himself. So they all start to fight. There's a lot of chatter and talk about how, the men need to stay on the raft to row the boat and the women need to get off. And none of the men, we start to realize a pattern that none of the men really want to sacrifice themselves like that. So eventually, Robin and Ion, 2 housewives, they sacrifice themselves to stay on the rafts. And I don't think they're the happiest about it, but it's like nobody else was sacrificing themselves, especially not the men. All of them are like, no, we need the men to row the boat. Really? Because all of y'all could not figure out how to row this boat until Bob, the drag queen, gave y'all a little help. Now, they get up to the $20,000, but once again, they find out that they have to sacrifice 2 more people. So they basically count and they find out that they have to sacrifice 8 people in order to get all of the gold and all of the fuel. So Dorinda and Dolores sacrifice themselves, and Danielle is like, wait a minute, it's kind of weird how they jumped off with such ease. Are some of them possibly the traitors? Like, there is a little bit of wheels turning in people's heads now, like, wait a minute, are these people that are jumping off with such ease, some of them must be safe? Because it's kind of weird that they're just ready to jump off like that. So at the next fuel, they have yet another fight about the strong men having to stay to row the way back. But Bob the drag queen is like, we need some girls on the boat. Okay, what are we doing? We need some girls on the boat. Now, yes, it might sound like Bob is being a, equal queen, but Bob does let us know in the confessional that it is partially, yes, because he believes what he's saying, but also partially because he's a traitor. So he wants the boat to be kind of lopsided, and he does want it to be a bit more difficult to row the boats by having some of those stronger guys stay on the raft. So, all right. Now, Bob and Danielle, they are talking on the raft, and they are pretending to be faithful because Bob does volunteer to be on the raft. He's like, all right, well, I'm going to go. So who else is going to come? Danielle decides to go, and they are talking. They're both talking like they're both faithfuls. They're like, oh my God, yeah, it's crazy. Like, what could be going on? Oh my goodness, I would never want to backstab people. And they're both doing a pretty good job in this moment. Neither one is suspecting the other one of being a traitor. Next up, Sam and Bob decide to stay on the raft. So around the 39-minute mark, they realize they are not even halfway there. So they need to row this boat a bit faster. Now they get up to another raft, and Brittany's like, I'm not volunteering to stay. So they start to try to take a vote to see, like, okay, who wants to get off? Nobody raises their hand. So at this point, they're asking Tony. Tony's like, oh no, I'm not staying. I'm not staying. So at this point, because nobody is volunteering to stay, they all vote to just go back to shore and try to light up the fuel. And at this point, Gabby also realizes, I can't let these men take me down. Like, we cannot let these stronger men take us down. They are definitely going to try to steamroll over the game. So it seems that there's a little bit of like a strong men versus women's thing going on so far. Something to watch. So on the way back to shore, they realize that they actually left one chest behind with $20,000. And the people on the rafts, they all start to realize, oh wait, They did all of this. We all sacrificed ourselves. And at the minimal least, all they could have done was pick up all of the chests. So they get into the shoe.
Congratulations, players! You did it!
They light it on fire, and all of those people are safe, and they also have $20,000 more. So, post-game, all of the girls are sitting together thinking that somebody on the rafts is a traitor. They don't think it's Bob the drag queen. Bob's name has started to been thrown out a little bit. People, again, are looking at the ones who decided to stay on the rafts, potentially as, okay, you stayed on this raft because you thought you were safe, didn't you? So the other people who are left on the rafts, they're left out there for a while, and they get back for dinner, and there's no dinner for them. They're all like, hey, we at least thought that we were gonna come back for some dinner, and there is no dinner for us. So Bob is like, okay, so can I ask why y'all didn't even go back for the other chest when there was 20 minutes left? I mean, everyone that was on these pontoons is upset, and I get it. You know, you're cold, you're in the middle of the water, and you relied on the group to at least do you a solid, and they didn't get all the money. Now, Dorinda is really, really upset, okay? And Dorinda is one of the housewives. And she is upset because she's feeling like a lot of the housewives, because her, Ion, they volunteered to be on these rafts and nobody else really showed out in that way. So she's really upset, feeling like, why did we have to make all these moves, but everybody else can say, oh no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna volunteer. So Dylan's like, look, like, talking to Dorinda, he's like, you know, we didn't go to the last boat because we were tired, you know, we just felt like, and Dorinda is really upset because she's like, well, I'm at risk to get murdered. So you're saying, oh, I didn't go to the last boat because I was tired, but guess what? I was at risk to get murdered. And I do think it's a dumb move. Why didn't they go to the last boat? They had 20 minutes left. I don't know. I feel like this group is not very synchronized. It's not very organized. There's a lot of talking all different directions, but it's like, y'all had 20 minutes. Like, I understand you wanted to ensure that you had safety, but y'all could have went to that last raft. But the reality is they also didn't want to have to leave behind 2 more people because I think they were worried about whether or not they'd be able to row this boat. Now, I've already started to think that because Dorinda is doing so much and she's speaking up so loudly about the fact that she stayed on the raft and these people didn't, that she might be a traitor. And that is the worrisome part of the first little bit, because at the end of the day, if you talk too much, you're too loud, you're too vocal, you put a target on your back. Even just volunteering to stay on a raft puts a target on your back. Everybody is very, very paranoid. And that's the very interesting part about this game, is that people are paranoid from day one, but as the episodes go on, the paranoia is insane. So the Traitors do link up for the very first time. Bob and Danielle get in there and they're like, oh my gosh, I did not suspect you whatsoever. Because remember, they were on the pontoon together. And she's like, what? You did a great job. I didn't suspect you. And, you know, Carolyn comes in.
Oh my God!
Yo, I had no clue.
And they're like, what? Now, Bob and Danielle, they feel fairly safe about Carolyn. They realize that no one's really going to suspect it to be her, so they feel pretty comfortable with that. But, as earlier, Alan let us know, just because y'all said no to Rob doesn't mean that Rob ain't gonna come. So, due to rejecting Rob, the game is changing. And we find out at the end of episode 1 that not only is Rob a traitor, but there are 2 additional players coming into the game. Alright? You made a bad mistake, y'all, because now you got all these extra people.
It's waiting to join too. Take him away.
Revenge is a dish best served cold.
So, episode 2, we see these 3, mystery men who are coming, and we finally find out who they are. First one being Derek Levasseur from Big Brother. Now, if you watch Big Brother, you know Derek. He is regarded as one of the best players in the game. He was a cop. He lied about being a cop. He won the game. So Derek Levasseur, he is a faithful, as well as Wes from The Challenge. We find out those are our 2 additional players, along with Rob, who is a traitor. So back to the traitors. Danielle says in the confessional that Carolyn, as a traitor, makes her very nervous. Carolyn and Danielle, they already start to get a bit testy. Carolyn's like, well, you've never played this. So, you making these suggestions, but you never played this before. Bob, he is like, look, the housewives need to go. The housewives, whenever they're on this show, they are always target number 1. Everyone just expects they're gonna stick together. Now, Carolyn does want to get a housewife out, and they think that it will all be a good idea to get somebody out, but to try to frame someone else. So Danielle and Bob are like, what if we get out Dorinda and we potentially frame Ivar because of the issue that they had in the kitchen earlier? Carolyn's like, I don't really like that though. So then they're like, what about Robin, though? We could try to get out Robin and we could blame it on Dorinda. So basically the 3 people that they are between is Dorinda, Dolores, and Robin. We get over to breakfast. So Tony is the first in the group there, and he is explaining to Gabby how Dorinda was so angry in the kitchen yesterday because Gabby did not witness the fight. Now Tony's like, who's going to be a traitor? Who do you guys think is a traitor? And remember, Tony, he is trying to throw people off the scent. He is a faithful, but Tony, he puts so many targets on his back, it's insane. He's like, well, maybe Carolyn, I don't know, like she is super twitchy, which, hey, she low-key is super twitchy. Now, everybody else slowly trickles into the room, slowly trickles, and we realize that Dorinda, Dolores, and Robin are not there.
Wait. Oh my God, Dorinda's not here?
Dorinda's not here. They killed Dorinda.
What? They murdered Dorinda.
Oh.
However, Dolores and Robin show up. Thus, we find out that Dorinda was murdered. So, Bob and Danielle, they are up in this breakfast crying, and this is kind of throwing off Carolyn because she's like, why are they doing all that? And I kind of agree. It's like, you 2 are the only ones crying right now. It looks obvious. It looks sus. Now, there are some whispers at the table about it being Ivar, so ultimately this plan did work to get her out and frame it on Ivar. And Danielle is telling Dylan that she thinks a potential traitor is Dolores. Now, watch Dylan, y'all, because he's going to become a prominent. I think Dylan wants to be Peter from The Bachelor from last season of the Traitors. Peter was like on everybody's tail, okay? He was super smart. And I think Dylan is trying to walk in those shoes. So overall, the traitors are trying to frame another housewife as the one to get out another housewife, because that's easy enough to, maybe make them think, oh, maybe the housewives want to throw people off the scent by getting somebody else out. So Wells does think it is a red flag that Robin potentially thought it was a good decision to get out Dorinda. And keep this in mind because Robin and her reaction to Dorinda getting out and just kind of her reaction to like the plan, it really becomes a prominent factor in everything that happens. So we get to the mission. At the mission, the new players are introduced.
Oh my God.
There are a few familiar faces.
Oh my God.
Brittany Haynes is an interesting one. I want to trust her, but the jury's still out on that one for me.
He's a cop.
Derek immediately sees Brittany and he's like, ooh, don't know if I could trust Brittany. Now, he does say that Danielle is the best player to never win Big Brother. And overall, Brittany is also not super happy to see Derek. And Wes is next. Now, he thinks that the housewives have no idea who he is, and everyone else is going to be scared shitless by him. Lastly, Rob. Jeremy says that he is scary, but all of the people from Survivor should probably try to stick together. So The new players, they can gift the shield to anyone they want, but first, everybody has to get them down from these suspended cages by putting coins in each of their individual buckets until it's filled up and the cage is lowered down. So they decide to get Rob down first, put the coins in, they get him down. Everyone is putting in Rob's, you know, and they're trying to butter him up. They're like, hi, Rob, I'm this person, I'm that person. Hi, Rob, I'm Gabby. Hi, Rob, I'm this, because nobody knows him except for the people that know him. But he is not falling for it. However, Tom is like, I kind of like Derek, so maybe I'll put some coins over in Derek's, you know, gain kind of that solidarity a little tiny bit. Nobody is putting in Wes's bucket. However, Wells finally is like, hey, I'll throw something in here. Hey, what's up? So everyone does get down. They do win the 15,000, and the new players also get the shields, which they can give to anyone after the round table. So these three, though, are immune to murder, but they cannot vote. So they have shields, but they really have no power, but they at least will not leave. So as soon as they get back to the castle, so a couple of different people take it upon themselves to fill in the new players about potential traitors. Tom once again throws out Chriselle. Tom has a vendetta for Chriselle, okay? There is no reason that Tom should be suspecting Chriselle other than the fact that he don't like her. Danielle says that she wants to kill Boston Rob right away because he is a good player. He's a legendary player, right? So Derek and Danielle, they go to talk, and he asks, like, are you cool with Brittany? Like, I know you and Brittany got that stuff going on. Now, she's like, oh, no. You know, if Danielle's basically like, if I get killed, like, they're going to pin it on Brittany. So, I mean, hey. Now, Bob and Jeremy also have a conversation, and they are talking about how there is a coldness with Wells. And yes, that's true. Wells has come in as a cold-blooded killer. Wells is out for blood. He is accusing left and right. Him and Dylan, they are not trying to play with anybody. So, Dylan and Wells do feel that the first traitor is Robin.
Because I think that she was going to die tonight, and that's just a waste of a kill. Robin was like, I don't think it's stupid at all. Got really defensive.
Between you and me, Robin's the highest on my board right now. That's where my head's at.
I think we found our first traitor.
Because remember, once again, from breakfast, they are really stuck on this, like, oh my God, a housewife would kill another housewife. That would be what they want to do. You know, they want to throw people off of them. So yeah, it makes sense that they would want to kill them. There's no rhyme or reason why they feel this way. They just kind of decided that that's what they're going with. So Tony, meanwhile, is continuing to do a terrible job of keeping the target off his back, in my opinion, by going around and asking everyone, who do you think is a traitor? Who do you think is a traitor? Who do you think is a traitor? Tony, you don't need to ask them who they think is a traitor every single day. So they get to the round table and they're like, you know, who's gonna start? So Bob, the drag queen, he decides to throw out Wells. He says, look, I know this is going to be kind of a wild thought, and I'm not really sure why I feel this person, but Wells.
Maybe sometimes, I don't know, the behavior's weird or something. Wells.
I think it's you. I think your behavior is strange. You know, how you acted before the round table versus after the round table was very, very different. Okay, so you that traitor, according to Bob anyway. Bob H chimes in and says, I haven't noticed a difference in Wells, so I don't know about all that, but I feel like you're doing too much. Wells decides he's gonna flip it back to Robin again and say, look, I think a housewife getting another housewife off is a really stupid move. At this point, Robin says, well, I've noticed a shift in you. You know, you came at me at breakfast for absolutely no reason. And this whole thing that you keep talking about where you think a housewife getting another housewife out is stupid, you know, that's sus. That's very sus that you have come up with this plan off the random and that you keep saying, oh yeah, of course you would do that because that's a good plan. Which again, very true. Wells came up with that plan out of nowhere. There's no real reason he thought that. And I feel like he came really, really hard with the plan with nothing to really back it up. So at this point, you know, he was also like, Robin and Sam, y'all two got defensive at breakfast. So that was very, very weird. Tom says, Chriselle is acting weird. Tom, Tom has it out for Chriselle, okay? Again, no real reason that Tom needs to dislike Chriselle, but he does. So Tom has it out for Chriselle. He says that Chriselle was acting defensive as soon as he took off the mask. He saw Chriselle fidgeting and being weird. Now, Chriselle is like, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. This does not have to be like this. You clearly have a problem with me because I'm friends with your ex, so you're coming at me off of nothing. And I agree with that. Now, Danielle's like, well, I do think that a housewife is a traitor. Robin and Dolores' names get thrown out again because they were acting weird. Also, Danielle has had the vendetta in her head that because they jumped out on the raft so easily that they potentially were safe. And that's why they were so willing to volunteer themselves to stay on the raft during the mission. So they go on to vote. By the end of the vote, we realize that Ivar, Wells, Robin all have 4 votes. And it is down to the last vote, which is Carolyn. Now, Carolyn does vote to banish Wells.
What? My final words to you guys will be this.
Okay, Wells is taken out. And as I said, I'm going to be honest with you. I think Wells came too hard, too fast. I also think ultimately you can't come at like an established group so quickly. The housewives tend to be very strong on these shows. And I feel like coming at them so quickly, knowing that the other ones are also here for defense, wasn't the best idea. His theory about a housewife getting out another housewife was completely out of nowhere. It had no merit. So I just think that for a lot of people, Wells seemed like a loose cannon. Obviously, Wells does reveal that he is a faithful. And after the round table, Dylan is like, wait a minute. It feels like Bob the drag queen low-key tried to put the agenda on Wells. He's telling this to Ion and Robin after the round table. So Dylan's wheels are turning where he's like, why did it seem like Bob automatically wanted to call out Wells? And this starts a whole thing. Now, I think as a traitor, you need to be doing some kind of middle ground stuff where you do some stuff behind the scenes and some stuff in the front. I feel like Bob, he also came on really, really quickly. And I don't know that that's going to work in his favor because he does have people on his set. So Wes asks Rob, who would you give the shields to? And he says, well, I was going to give to Wells, so I don't really know anymore. Now, Rob says that he's only worked with Tony and Jeremy. So the 3 players with the shields, they go around and give those shields now. Rob gives Tony his shield because, again, they've worked together. Derek gives his shield to Dylan, and then Wes gives his shield to Jeremy. So Derek immediately goes to tell Danielle. It seems like they're gonna have like a little bit of like a loose, like we were on Big Brother alliance. I don't know if they've officially declared working together, but I think they're at least going to share info with each other. Derek immediately tells Danielle that he gave Dylan the shield. So the traitors link up once again. Bob is like, look, I feel like I was in control the whole time. I commanded the whole table. However, I do know that the guys really want to take over and come after me. At this point, Rob also comes in to join the other traitors, and we start episode 3. All right, episode 3. So Rob gets into the chamber with the other traitors. He reveals himself and he lets them know that Jeremy does have a shield, that Dylan, Tony are also immune.
Yes, I am. If we just slaughter all the housewives, it'll cause so much chaos. If we kill Dolores tonight, Robin is dead. Can we have a conversation about Ian?
Who will kill her?
Exactly.
So Danielle is like, we are not going to kill Brittany, okay? Because that is going to be pinned on me, which totally agree. I think it is far, far too early for them to take out Brittany. If anything, Danielle, you need to probably be getting Brittany on your side. Now, they do think that Ion is a good potential because, again, they're now kind of targeting the housewives. They know the housewives are working together and no one's really gonna suspect anything weird if Ion is killed. In fact, it would be chaos. So for them, they are between Tom, Ion, and Dolores. At breakfast, Tony is not gonna tell anyone that he has the shield. However, he starts to ask
to talk to cops.
I'd like to think I'm good at lying. Sometimes I just lie just to have fun. Not in real life, in the games.
Does anybody have a shield? Does anyone have a shield? Tony. I'm trying to figure out what Tony's strategy is because this is a bad strategy to me. Like, I don't know. To me, this is not throwing people off the scent. It's putting people on the scent because he's just so vocal and he's constantly asking people what's going on. So when Danielle gets in, she's like, I don't know. I feel like Bob the drag queen might be a target because he's been so vocal about potential traitors. Okay, fair strategy of trying to kind of get people off of Bob, thinking, oh yeah, why is Bob acting like that? Okay, I got it. I don't necessarily think Danielle needed to speak up, but I think at least in this case, she is okay. I don't think that anybody thought too much of what she said. Now, Dolores, Bob, Tom, Ion, they are the 4 that are left over. Tony is really hoping that Ion comes because he put her down for the vote. So if Ion is gone, it is going to look like he targeted her because he voted her out. Anyways, we find out that the next person leaving is...
Good morning. How did you sleep? Like the dead? Yes, as you may have guessed, Ian is not having a lie-in.
Ion. Now, all of the housewives are pretty upset. They are like, it is housewife hunters in here. Why are they doing this to us? And overall, Carolyn does let us know, though, in the confessional that she did not want Ion out. And we are definitely starting to kind of see a hierarchy in the traitors where I definitely feel like Rob, Bob, and Danielle are kind of in the hot seat, and Carolyn is not. I think that they don't look at Carolyn as... They look at her as kind of erratic, and I can definitely see a world where if a traitor can get out, they will take out Carolyn. I just think that they see her as a weak link, and it's pretty dangerous for her. So, post-breakfast, Carolyn does go to try to talk with some of the girls, Gabby, some of the housewives, and apologize. But Carolyn does talk with Jeremy, and he's like, oh my God, at this point, like, I don't know. I heard them say that she's such a hot mess, that I'm such a hot mess, you know, so are they traitors? Now, Jeremy says to Carolyn, watch Danielle. Ooh. So again, definitely made no sense for Danielle to speak up at breakfast because it's putting a target on her back for no reason. So Robin comes in to talk to Wes, and he says that he is not going for the housewives, which I don't know. Why are people going for the housewives guns blazing? I feel like that's such like a, I don't know. I feel like they take that plan every season. So why are we doing that? However, she thinks that Tony potentially killed Ion because of the vote. Remember? So Wes is like, do you think that maybe someone tried to frame Tony though? So they're kind of deciding, was Tony framed or did Tony do it himself? So Wes lets Tony know that his name is being thrown around by, was being thrown out there by Ion and the housewives in general. So Wes lets Tony know this. And Dylan also tells this group that, who is including Rob, who is a traitor, that Robin and Bob are actually traitors. Robin and Bob the drag queen are actually traitors. And I was like, it's so early, Dylan. I also feel like Dylan, like, you could have sat in the background. Like, nobody was going to look at you. I feel like some of these people are coming too hard, too fast, and they're putting targets on their back because nobody was coming for you, Dylan. Now, he feels that Robin and Bob are traitors because they were the ones that immediately threw out Wells' name. There was no real reason to throw out Wells. And then they tried to back down and be like, no, especially Bob. Rob is there though, so he's like, well, okay, Bob the drag queen is one of my fellow traitors, so I'm gonna need to steer this boat towards Robin. So they get to the mission. So basically, they are all standing next to another person and they have to accompany that person into this fun house. They are all carrying balloons worth around 2,000, was it 2,000 or 20,000? But they're carrying these balloons worth a certain amount for the prize pot. They basically have to go through all of these doors in order to get to the last row. However, there is a clown that will pop your balloon if you go into the wrong door.
But will this one be fair or foul? Well, that will depend on you, dear players. The player you are standing next to is the player.
So you can hear from the outside. There's a megaphone where they can describe each door, where they can hear from the outside. So this is really a competition where you have to listen, you have to use memory, you have to be able to describe things very well. And lastly, if you get to the last row and you pick the right door, there is also a shield available for the safe players. So once again, they are asking who wants to go first. And Bob H volunteers. And Bob the drag queen is like, why is it always the same people volunteering? You know, he really pushes and he's like, I don't know, Tony, like you never volunteer for anything. So like, what is going on, you know? And Bob H and Tony, they start to even get into a little bit of a squabble as well, because it is the same people that are constantly volunteering. Like there's a whole subset of guys or people even like Brittany. Let me not say guys, because Brittany Haynes, baby, you never volunteer, sis. Like, why are there people that are just like, I'm not going to volunteer for anything? So it's always the same housewives, you know, Bob H, these kind of people who are willing to go. Tony never volunteers. So eventually through this squabble, Nikki and Tony, they do go first. Tony is explaining terribly. He's like, it's got like 3 diamonds. It's red. It's the, they picked the wrong door. Derek and Jeremy, wrong door. Bob and Dolores picked the wrong door, even though they are 4th to go. So in theory, there should have been 3 people before them that told them, hey, door 1 is wrong, door 2 is wrong, door 3 is wrong, so you pick the 4th door. But for whatever reason, this group, a lot of people in this group are not that savvy because they are struggling. So Tony and Dylan, they do get through in that first row and they go to the second door or the second row with the doors and they are wrong. Robin and Danielle, they get through to the 3rd part and they lose at the 3rd part.
That would be a no.
Oh, gross! Smells like some booty in here. Okay.
Robin and Danielle.
Ivar and Brittany, they do not make it through the 3rd part either. So finally, as we go through all of these losers, Sierra and Wes, they are last, okay? There is 2 more rows at this point and a chance to win the shield. So they make it through to the last row and I'm like, okay, you guys gonna get that shield? But unfortunately, at that 4th row, they do not pick the correct door, meaning that they lose. So for this entire mission, they won no money and they won no shields. Yeah, guys, it's not looking too good. This group is not giving that they can work well together. This group is not giving that they can use critical thinking skills to get through to things. Because both missions now, we've seen them struggle through. So anyway, they win no money and they get back to this, they get back into the cars and Tony is like, it's real sus that out of nowhere Bob H called me out. Like, why would he call me out for never volunteering? Jeremy is also like, I'm still thinking that Danielle is suspicious.
So I feel it. I want to be at the end of this game with Danielle. I will not betray her. So I'm gonna go tell Danielle.
Why was she crying at breakfast this morning? And lastly, Bob the DQ, Bob the drag queen, he is in that same car where Jeremy is like, watch Danielle. Or, you know, Danielle is suspicious. And so he's like, all right, well, I clearly need to go and tell Danielle whatever is going on. So Bob is like, I need to find Danielle immediately, Bob the drag queen. And he's like, taking Danielle into the room and he's like, look, Jeremy said your name, okay? You need to be careful because he doesn't believe the crying. He thought you were doing too much at breakfast. And Carolyn is like, well, yeah, he also said your name to me this morning. So once again, some whispers and some murmurs because Jeremy is the Danielle hunter right now, okay? So Gabby, Chriselle, and Nikki, they make this little group called the Bambis because they claim they all have big eyes and they're doe-eyed. Oh, okay. But anyways, they are all suspicious of Tony at this point. Again, Tony has definitely been playing way too hard. And Tony, as somebody who already had a target on your back coming into this game, period, you should have definitely been laying a bit lower. in my opinion. So Jeremy is telling Dylan and Wes that he does not think that Bob the drag queen is a traitor. Dylan is pushing so hard for Bob the drag queen at this point, and Jeremy's like, that's a little sus. Like, why is he so suspicious of Bob the drag queen? So Jeremy goes to tell Tony and Bob what Dylan has been saying about Bob potentially being a traitor. So Jeremy is telling Tony then that he feels that Dylan and Danielle are trying to get people out. Again, Jeremy is the Danielle hunter. He is on Danielle's tail. So Brittany tells Bob, hey, I heard your name from one person today, and that person was Dylan.
Danielle, they're all trying to get people out.
Where are you eating?
I'm not eating anything.
You're mad.
So now Bob is on fire. He is on fire. He is hearing that Dylan is throwing his name out left and right, and we get to the round table. So at the round table, Dylan decides he's going to speak up first, and he says that the people who were the most vocal about Wells being a traitor, aka Bob the drag queen and Ion, need to be addressed first. Bob's like, we not doing this. He's like, look, I said Wells because people were saying his name and I was just being the voice for everybody else. Okay? So don't try to pin on me that I put this out here because some people said that. Well, Dylan's like, okay, well, if you're a traitor, if you're a traitor, you know that Wells is innocent. So of course you would throw his name out there out the random. So Robin chimes in and is like, Dylan and Ion, y'all came up to me after the round table saying that Bob the drag queen is a traitor. Dylan's like, well, that looks sus then that Ion is suddenly gone after that entire situation. And I was like, ooh, that shot kind of landed. I ain't gonna hold you. So Gabby's like, okay, well, Tony threw out Chriselle and Bob H as potential traitors since he came at him in the competition. So what about all that? Bob H is like, well, I do think Tony's a traitor. So yeah. Now Jeremy chimes in and says, well, Tony crushed my chances of winning in the past. Okay, me and Tony, we don't have a good history. There's no reason for me to defend Tony in this, but I don't think he's a traitor. It's not giving traitor. So Robin is like, look, I'm gonna be honest. I think Alan, he wanted to pick somebody who could do the job and do the job well as a traitor. If I was him, I would pick somebody who really could step up to the plate, and Tony fits that bill. Dylan chimes in and is like, okay, but that also applies to Bob the drag queen, and Bob's like, oh, why am I catching strays?
This room, you're an amazing actor. You
So
are.
you're telling me because I would be good at it, that's just so now you're reading Alan's mind.
I'm saying that's exactly what she said about Tony.
It's like, why are you putting me out here? So Rob is like, look, I gave you a shield, Tony, and you're one of the only people I've worked with in this game. You're one of the only people I know. And I gave you the shield, and it's pretty sus that you have not come to talk to me since. Like, we have not had one conversation. You have not tried to reach out. So Tony's like, okay, do you think I'm a traitor then, Rob? And he's like, well, no. Well, he's like, I don't know, actually. I'm not sure. It's acting weird. So we go through to the vote, and it is pretty much almost unanimous, and Tony is banished, okay? Dylan notably still votes for Bob the drag queen, so he is definitely still on Bob's tail. But overall, Rob decides that he's going to vote Tony out as well. Now, Tony does reveal that he is a faithful,
sincere, I'm a faithful.
And he's like, Rob, you a sellout. You a sellout. I thought we were friends and you voted me out because all these people convinced you to. So Tony, after the fact, he is trying to save his tail. He's like, well, look, I tried to give him a shield. I tried to extend him an olive branch. He never reached out to me. Like, it was just weird. I had no idea whether or not he was a traitor. So after this talk, Bob does talk to Dylan. He kind of goes up to him and he's like, look, I know y'all get triggered by the yelling. I'm not about to yell at you, but I am not a traitor. I don't know why you think I'm a traitor. And Dylan's like, yeah, you were starting to convince me low key. He says in the confessional though, it's all cap. He's pretending that he believes Bob, but right now he does not have the ammo. He doesn't have the backing in order to truly come for Bob. So he's going to have to kind of lay low on his theory that Bob the drag queen is a traitor. So Derek is like, it's a little sus that Tony called Rob a sellout. That's a little weird, right? Like Derek after the fact is kind of like, why did he feel so aggressive about it? He's like, it seems like it was more than just the vote at that point. It seems like they had something more going on there for him to be so upset after this whole thing. So the traitors, they find out they are not having a secret meeting tonight. Instead, they have to select 3 players for murder by the end of the night. Also, one traitor may be shortlisted as well. So they can pick 1 traitor and 2 regular people, or just 2 regular or 2 faithfuls and 2 faithfuls, 1 traitor, or 3 faithfuls. I don't know why I can't talk this morning, y'all. So they have to write these 3 names down on a scroll publicly inside of the house, and then they will be laid out publicly inside of a coffin. And during the middle of the night, the traitors have to come and hammer that person into the coffin. That show is so dramatic. So they all finally are able to talk. Now, mind you, Danielle, Rob, and Bob, they are all in the little cellar behind the bookshelf, and everybody's looking around for them. Derek's like, are people missing? And a few other people are like, wait, it seems like the house is really empty. Where are some of the people that are here? And they're not being that discreet about it, I feel like, because Robin, excuse me, she's like in the kitchen making something and the little murmurs are coming and I'm like, can she hear them? But she obviously probably just, I don't know, maybe assumed it was people, other people in the house. So Bob is like, Danielle is like, look, I want Jeremy and I ain't gonna hold you. I kind of want Carolyn. So Bob also says that he wants Jeremy and Carolyn to be the 2. Now Rob is like, I don't want to do a traitor though. Danielle's like, but if we ask her, she'll have to do it. Like she has no other choice. Rob is like, okay, what about someone who is not connected to anyone like Jeremy? So again, Danielle and Rob, they both are feeling Jeremy. And Derek is like, where is everybody? Derek is out there. He is really trying to find them. So Carolyn finally finds them as she's pacing around. She's like, where are they? Where are they? Where are they? They do not include Carolyn. As I say, Carolyn is definitely on the lowest tier of the traitors. So finally, Carolyn does find them as she's pacing around and they're like, will you go in? And Carolyn's like, I really would prefer not to. I don't know. But eventually they do come to some kind of consensus and Gabby sees all, like 2 of the girls, she sees Danielle and Carolyn come out of the room and I'm like, this is so awkward. Is anybody on to the fact that something weird was going on? So definitely Derek, Gabby, Robin, all of these people that I saw some weird stuff, I'm assuming that is going to form how they feel in the next week. And that is where we leave off. So next episode, we will find out who is in those chests, who gets banished. As I said, lots of good rivalries. One of the things I really like about this show is that they put people on who have had history on their respective shows together. So there's already kind of webs forming, lies forming, etc. It's really, really good. So anyways, if you made it to this point of the video, that means you liked the video. So I would greatly appreciate if you would consider supporting the channel by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. It helps to get the content out there and it inspires me to keep creating. Again, please keep the people in LA in your prayers. Check the description box for resources about how to donate, how to help. Thank you guys so much for watching and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Bye.